Ah, there she is.
That's
Good morning and welcome to the March 11th Trees and Public Greenery Committee. First order of business is the acceptance of minutes for our February meeting, from our February meeting. Everyone have a chance to look at them?
Yes.
That's in order. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, removal requests. Looks like we have two. Do we have anyone here for the Garfield Road?
Yes.
Okay,
Come on up.
yeah.
Nice
come on
switch.
up. You could give us your names and,
The 1331 Allen Park Tree Impact Plan. One
Right
more.
there, yeah.
So I'm Christine Sproviero. I'm DPW project manager.
okay,
Nick Messina, project manager with CMA Engineers.
great.
And so the intersection we're looking at is at the corner of Garfield Road and McKinley. It is part of the broader Elwyn Park sidewalk and traffic calming project. The broader project includes an array of installing sidewalks, installing traffic calming measures along McKinley, and reconfiguring problematic intersections. And one of those is McKinley and Garfield. And this is the only intersection improvement that does propose tree impacts. So the existing edge of pavement is called out, and it's primarily in the green area on the right, which is the proposed vegetated area post-construction. So the existing alignment is heavily skewed. You can see Garfield goes straight to the right, and there's a striped area kind of in the greenery that they're pavement markings, but it's not an actual physical barrier. So today cars can go straight into McKinley through Garfield. There is a stop sign, but again, there's no physical barrier to really stop cars from slowing down or going right into McKinley. And it is a low volume road, certainly. However, we're told that cars queue here at the end of school drop off. So the right of way lines going south, there's a path that leads to the narrow fields there. And so parents will park along Garfield here, kids will come out the back of the school, get picked up here, and then parents apparently tend to zip out of there. So what we're proposing is to rectify the intersection geometry and tee it up better. So all things being equal, a perpendicular intersection with aligned approaches is the safest possible configuration, just with respect to sight distances and with people physically needing to slow down to make those left and right hand turns. And to do so, obviously, as you see before you, requires taking several trees right at that sharp corner. There you go. Yep, so there's the existing alignment. And again, it's striped to try and better tee it up than it's physically laid out. But now we're trying to bring it directly across from Harrison so that if there are, cars making both of those approaches, if they're not perfectly aligned, there can be a miscommunication between drivers as to who has the right of way. And it just makes for a less safe intersection more broadly. Additionally, in the future layout for McKinley, the sidewalk is proposed to be installed on this side of the road, the south side of McKinley in plan view. And so this would be the site of a pedestrian crossing. And with the existing pavement width, it would make an excessively long pedestrian crosswalk. Ideally, you want it as narrow as possible so that kids walking to school are in the roadway for as little time as possible, because that's, of course, when they're most vulnerable to cars. So the idea is to narrow up the pavement and make it more perpendicular to improve sight lines for cars and improve pedestrian traffic in the future when there's sidewalk. And that is the background on the project. I don't know if we wanted to go over the photos of the trees themselves.
Yeah, in the slideshow, Peter, there's a few photos just of the marked trees.
Did you take them all down?
Would we take them all down? No.
That pine is,
Yeah.
Yes, the pine is definitely one that's proposed to be taken. And we have looked at a couple of different configurations. We dialed back the impacts a little bit because this corner is also wetland impacts. So we went through Conservation Commission and we're preparing our DES permit. And just through conversations with that process, we have dialed back the impacts a bit. So we're not taking as many trees as initially proposed, but there still are several as listed there.
Yeah, some of these aren't in the best shape either. So I think ultimately what we stand to gain out of this new traffic configuration, I think is overall a greater benefit than some of these trees. And I'll admit, some of these red maple clusters are totally okay, totally fine and serviceable, but I think in general, what we're dealing with is kind of undesirable trees to some extent. Yeah, that's
Looks like the white pine has already been scraped or hit or
yeah.
something with that guy.
Looks like it came from one of our plow truck drivers, middle of the night after 20 hours. It's
It's up the
it's bound
tree
to
a bit,
happen.
so I wondered.
That tree, I mean, it's, at least that pine, I think I have talked about it with some homeowners in the area. And it's a bit of a corrected lean, so they were concerned about the weight distribution kind of going toward the road and toward one of their homes. But then when you look sort of in the top half, really that tree does start to correct. So it has been making adjustments to its growth habits. So as of right now, it's not a big hazardous concern in my view, but there are others in there that are either almost completely dead, like some of the smaller red maple clusters. And then one of the sweet birch is looking pretty poor as well. So I think the other sort of element to this, and I think when we talked on site several weeks ago, there is a new green space that's going to be created on the opposite side of the road there, which has potential to plant trees. So it's not something that I don't think anyone was willing to commit to outright at this point in time. Just because, as it was explained to me, the expectation is that the city isn't going to be mowing the grass there, right? It would be, potentially be on the residents to maintain. So if they would want some trees, then yeah, we would do that, but
Where would it be?
That's the opposite.
yep, to the left.
Essentially where you see those white pavement markings would all be created green space. And yeah, to Max's point, even though it is in the public right of way, it is going to be adjacent to those homeowners' existing lawns. So public space, but it's going to feel like they're gaining, additional front yardage. So we definitely want to talk to the homeowners before we propose anything specific and understand exactly they'd like to see. I think Public Works is amenable to planting vegetation or trees if desired. But again, we really want to talk to the homeowners first and understand what they'd like to see and what will feel like a new front yard.
So it's easy to envision taking this street and lining it up with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's clear.
And it's as someone who drives this neighborhood, like you drove here through this, it is, I think it's a great project. I mean, you just see kids walking literally in the road and it's,
Yes.
and it's one of the neighborhoods that people park on the street all the time. So it very easily becomes what feels like a 1-lane road. Which is part of the charm of living in kind of one of these neighborhoods, but it is. I think it's a great project to connect it and make it gets a little hairy there. So I think it's a great project that DPW and the consultants have taken on, and I think, like Max said, to lose a few with added green space across, I think it has the outweighs.
You can see Garfield as it's laid out acts as more of a slipstream. They both look like, merging into a super highway.
Mhm.
So people tend to carry speed through that, whether they're rolling stops or whether they're, people
of
aren't
rolling
necessarily
stops.
paying attention.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's a traffic calming measure. You want to straighten it out and
Are there any other intersections in this neighborhood that are being looked like? I'm not super familiar with the layout, so are there other locations in this? So there are more intersections being reworked.
This is the only one with tree impacts,
I
but
see.
yes, like the Taylor McKinley intersection is another big one that's getting modified.
and this is the first phase of a multiple phase project. So
Has anyone, Max, have you spoken to the homeowner that's adjacent to this little
To the right,
parcel?
you're at this
To the
one?
right, yeah.
Right here?
Uh-huh.
Yes, we have been in communication with her.
And
So she said she doesn't mind losing the trees. She only expressed that she doesn't think
the reconfiguration is necessary. But again, line of sight from an engineering and safety standpoint is obviously the best thing to do, but that's really all the feedback that we got.
There is gonna be a good amount of trees left there still, so I don't think it's gonna be this humongous sort of everything's gone.
Yeah.
void sort of thing.
All right.
And it's a good neighborhood with I think it's really interesting when you parallel, if you say like Maple Haven, where a lot of people have clear cut their properties. And in this neighborhood, there's a lot of trees just everywhere.
That are our trees? Because we can't control those.
No,
those-
yeah, I just
That
I
clear
just think
cutting
it's-
is quite a problem and
Yeah, but I just think, in this neighborhood, there's everyone's backyard.
A lot of mature
Trees.
trees in that neighborhood.
Really,
yeah, as long as they're on board, we're
Yeah.
not cutting them down. It's a trouble. It's a problem. Yeah, it's stress.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to remove those trees.
a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you,
Very
thank you, very well.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Get that.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Max, what's the Latin name of sweet birch?
Petula lenta.
Lenta, okay.
Petula lenta. I can spell it, but as soon as you
You're on
ask me,
spot.
yeah, no, yeah, Petula lenta.
Okay. Are those prone to the birch borer?
They get bronze birch borer for sure, but I mean, it's a native pest and a native tree, so it's not. Oh, you mean like,
They're, are they as impacted as the?
The paper birches,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, couldn't speak to it, but I know, of course, they get it, so.
yeah.
Okay. 10 Crescent. Are you here for? No?
Oh, landscape approval on Woodbury.
Okay.
So we'll do this one really quick then?
Yep.
Does that work?
Yeah.
You guys hanging up for just a few more minutes? Okay, thanks. So yeah, 2 Norway maples. These are requested by the resident here. As you can see, the tree on the right, we all kind of went out and took a peek at this hopefully, but there's like a 30-foot crack on the tree on the right. And on the next slide, I was able to take my probe and sort of just literally stick it into this really swollen crack, where ideally it's sort of this reaction wood is forming around this crack, and the intent is to completely seal, but for whatever reason, and I think it's because it's a little rotten, that it's now swelling and it's becoming harder and harder to actually form what we call a seam when these 2 sections of reaction would form over. And yeah, I mean,
Is that an old lightning strike?
I
What I
don't
was
know.
wondering.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cause was. My thought was because the other tree has a similar, it's pretty much on the same face.
Yes.
So my thought is it could have been a frost crack that is just, it's been with decay entering the tree before it had a good opportunity to seal. That's just my hunch.
What do you think the timeline, is that like over 10 years? Is that over 5 years? Is that?
I think with the amount of reaction wood we see here and then the amount of decay that's inside that crack, I would think, yeah, at least 10 years.
I know there's been a lot of, with that new build, with the tear down and the new build and the clearing of that property, there's been a lot of impact
Yeah,
in that vicinity.
yeah. So that's the thing. It's when I take a look at these trees, I kind of give it a time frame, and I think within a 3-year period, I think failure is plausible, just because, not entirely certain of the extent of the decay all the way through that 30-foot. It's such an extreme crack. The tree hasn't had great success in sealing over that defect that I would be a little concerned of its long-term structural stability. And then at the home, I think, Peter, if you go one more photo to the right, yeah, so that's just another sort of spot of decaying wood that I saw at the base of the tree. And that's sort of if you're looking from the driveway at the tree there. So a couple of noteworthy defects, obviously, a little bit of rotten wood there, not quite sealed over.
This one was an interesting, I was trying to figure out the actual property line because of how close these trees are to that shed and like, is that shed built on city property or is that like?
As far as I can tell, having a conversation with the new homeowner,
Yeah,
his private property, his property ends, it's pretty consistent with the driveway.
yep,
So the previous homeowner built that shed
gotcha.
on city, I think that's technically park.
Park,
right
yeah,
there, the
Hislop.
Park.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's all, yeah, right through there is city right of way and those two trees are certainly on city property.
Is there a critter living in that void?
I didn't see anything or any evidence of that, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. The other tree, so as we saw, it does have a crack. It is starting to, that process of sealing over. My concern at that point more is we isolate that tree if we remove the tree with that larger 30-foot crack that has the decay inside. If we remove that tree, it then isolates this other one that has a minor defect, in my opinion. But because it's been growing in this woodlot for so long, it's very top heavy. So if we increase that wind loading, it's the same argument that I've made for other trees around
Yeah.
here. But it's like, if, we're now isolating this tree, can it survive and can it continue to grow and fill in that area? Possibly. But I think given the fact it's now next to this new build, plenty of targets, right? They're gonna put in there are gonna be new power lines and utility infrastructure through there. Park cars, the driveway was expanded a bit, so the amount of targets to me suggests we have a whole forest right behind it full of
Yeah.
Norway maple. I think the fact that we're talking about defects and all of these targets combined, it's just,
Risk benefit.
yeah, so that's my
Anyone else?
argument, I guess.
Is it a replant thought or is it worth it because it's so close to
I don't know. I think
necessary?
not necessarily. I mean, I don't know if this would be the right site for it. Potentially something a little bit closer to the road in that area, but there's a big U right there. So I don't know if it's quite and I think nature is gonna provide that anyway. It's a forest full of Norway maple, so in no time
It is gorgeous
right
in the
back.
summer with the bench there and no
Oh, yeah.
notes, but I shouldn't say it, never mind.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank
So
you.
Max,
Yeah.
the structure just on the river side of it, there's a double stem tree. When you're working with these trees, take a look at that one as well.
If I'm in the driveway looking at that shed, is it to the left of the shed? Cause you said
Yes,
riverside.
it's right on
Okay.
the corner.
Okay.
Just, I couldn't get too close to it, but
Sure.
just take a look at
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And it's probably a Norway maple.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
A participant up there, Peter, is that,
I think it might just be us.
it might be what?
Us.
Oh,
Yes.
is that right? We're,
Yes, it's us.
okay. Learn something new.
I had to think about that, but it's them plus you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next order of business, we have the landscape plan review. Great. And you're here for that? Would you like to come up and?
That would be. You did have, it was open before. Unity master plan R1. Cool. Great spot, there it is.
Okay, could you give us your names, please?
Yeah, my name is Neil Hansen. I'm a civil engineer with Time Bond.
Tom Godfrey, representing the owner, Quincy and Company.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to just give us like a brief overview of what this site is intended to be and?
Yeah, sure.
Landscaping plan?
So this is the Market Basket Plaza over on Woodbury Ave. And this project is a Citizens Bank that was approved by the planning board early last fall, I believe. I forget the exact month. as part of the approval, there's a large swath of community space that's being included as part of the approval. So that basically the entire landscaped area that fronts Woodbury is being deeded to the city as community space. So the trees we're planting within that community space falls under the purview of this committee, as well as the trees that are shown on this sheet are within the right of way. Those 8 trees along the frontage of Woodbury are also within the right of way.
So Woodbury's on the bottom of the
Bottom,
screen.
yes, correct. Yep. And then the entrance to the plaza is just to the left of this page, between the new bank and Wendy's.
And that's the parking lot.
Yep,
Okay.
everything up is parking for
Where are the
the
geese gonna go?
somewhere else.
Let's go fun.
It's not funny,
Yeah, a lot of seagulls.
Yeah.
Lot of seagulls.
right? There are a lot of seagulls.
They love the French fries.
They love the Wendy's French fries, that's right.
Some people feed them.
Oh, yes.
The schoolhouse restaurant adjacent to that?
No, the schoolhouse is gonna be down to your left.
It's in that like wedge on the left, very left of this page.
Right over here.
If you go
Okay.
one more page.
This is like, Michael, if you're standing at Applebee's, this is gonna be
Yeah, right there.
directly across the street from Applebee's.
So it's in that like triangle right where your hand is.
What's the
Traffic signal here.
of the project? Or is that a question for now? The
No,
depth
just got
of the
it.
project,
Yet.
I mean, how far into?
Yes, this was approved by planning board in August or September of last year.
I need
Can-
some more
can-
clarification.
Can we like pull up Google Maps and look at the actual
Sure.
site?
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
where is
Like,
it?
is this like?
Relationship
in the
to
parking lot?
market basket?
Yeah, so you know Applebee's, right? And then
Yeah,
it's
oh, yeah.
Right on the road.
it's
Yep.
where the
Yeah.
green space is. You know, when you turn in to the lot and go right, there's a big open green space there, like
Yeah.
this lawn, it's gonna go right there.
Okay,
So yeah, between Woodbury and the parking lot that's in front of Market Basket, there's a strip of grass
Okay.
in that strip of grass.
Oh, I thought that was kind of more of what kind of goes down. I thought it was a water sort of
When
retention
you go
thing.
down more, it definitely gets.
So it is a low spot.
Yeah,
Oddly, it doesn't actually collect any runoff from the parking lot.
no, okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, excellent, all right.
So it's that.
So it's right there?
Yep. Yeah, so it does look like it was designed as some sort of stormwater basin, but the parking lot actually slopes towards the building and not towards the road. So the only water that collects there is whatever lands directly on it. So it's not actually, I was kind of shocked when we got into the
Yeah, I
design
thought
that
that's what it was.
yeah, I think a lot of people probably do, and it's
Where's the bank going?
Right there.
is right there in that grass area.
Oh, so it'll be,
So like on the.
So all the boxwoods and the Coosa dogwoods are going,
Right along the back of the sidewalk there.
Looked at it,
Okay.
here's the crosswalk right here.
yeah, okay.
that's helpful.
Did talk about widening that sidewalk?
No,
Replacing it with concrete, correct?
Yes.
we're not touching it.
Just a traffic light.
And will the median still
Traffic.
be looking like that?
Yep, we gotta bring a water line across it, but other than that, we're not doing anything in Woodbury.
Uh-huh, that's pretty god awful.
Question for the planting, so this has come up several times, is the maintenance plan for the project. So this will all just be on your client's property, so your client will be responsible, because we've had several times where we've had private development, they come in, they've presented a plan, and then 4 years later, they have let the plan die, and then they just kind of clear it all out, and it becomes 2 arborvitae's and a boxwood. And so I guess I would,
It gets dumbed down.
yeah.
I think in the planning documents that we're signing for the community space, I believe there's a condition in there that says if the landowner does not maintain,
Yep.
the city has the right to come onto the property. and maintain. So that I
And
think.
bill.
Excuse me?
And bill the client.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So
right.
that is, I think, in the legal community space easement that we're granting to the city. So that language is in there, planning and legal insisted on.
For the community space, I didn't see any, and I may have just missed it because I'm not good at always reading the plans. Do you plan any type of table space or,
Yeah.
I think sometimes one of the things that I like to address, it's not always the best in this forum, but is the actual use of community space. I mean, I was part of the team that took away, say, some of the dormers and X, Y, and Z that we deemed as community space, because we really do want community space to feel like this is a walkable area. They can sit and have,
And feel safe.
yes.
Yeah, so there's sort of, actually, Peter, that overall plan is a good one to kind of show the full scope of it, but there.
Overall one.
Yeah, this one right here. So there's sort of four separate areas. So it's the community space that's being deeded for this project is essentially all of the green space along the frontage of this parcel.
Yeah.
And then there's sort of four distinct areas that we've kind of looked at. And starting from the left, there's a small seating area with plantings around it. So that's a couple
Yeah.
picnic tables.
Like this area.
No,
No.
you're on the,
I'm on the 2D.
if you look up here on the.
Right here?
Yeah.
Where the traffic light is?
So that is where Commerce Way connects to
Okay.
Woodbury. So that's adjacent to the Wendy's parking lot. So the thought is people that get food at Wendy's, there's a couple picnic tables there. They can go sit outside. There's some landscaping around it. It's actually a little bit lower than Woodbury, so it's slightly protected from the road.
So the light is right here.
There's,
There's a light here and there's a light here.
yep.
There's two lights, this light and this light.
So it's Commerce Way is on the
Yeah,
left.
there's one
The
there,
first entrance to the
here,
plaza's in the
here.
middle, and then the Maplewood
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that may, okay,
light is on the right.
okay. So the community space is gonna be across the way adjacent to the actual thing site.
Yeah, well, it's the whole frontage. So the two spots on the left, there's basically two seating areas sort
Yeah.
of on either side of Wendy's.
Yeah,
And
okay.
then the bank's in the middle. And then to the right of the bank, there's another, we're bringing a sidewalk along the parking lot there
Oh,
where
cool.
there's nothing there. There'll be a couple benches, and then up to the far right, there's gonna be a few picnic tables and a seating area put in sort of closer to that market basket area. So that we would envision being used by either workers at Market Basket or people that go grab a sandwich at Market Basket and want to eat outside there. So it's sort of four distinct areas along the frontage, and they're all sort of connected.
Yeah, that's, I guess this becomes a concern of, I'm okay with it, but does your client perceive a plan to deal with any unhoused population and or loitering or X, Y, and Z? I mean, I think if you build it, they will come and they are residents and they're already there. And so I guess,
Homeless person on that intersection right now.
yes.
Yeah, I think there was this morning in
Yeah.
the parking lot. So ownership deals with it constantly. They're in constant contact with the police department and trying to police it the best they can.
Are we worried that it's gonna aggravate this? I'm a firm believer that like they're people too. So if you
Yep.
create community space, they are part of our community. I guess what I want to make sure that the owners are aware of, like, that we're not now creating a more heightened aggravated situation that now involves more police response, more X, Y, and Z. And that they're understanding that by developing community space, you are opening up the space to all communities.
Yes, yep, understood. It's a delicate balance, I think, to improve the community shopping center with landscaping and usable amenities like the benches and sitting areas for people. So they've just got, I think it just needs to be managed and policed properly by everyone.
As far as selection of the plants, how did you come to using boxwoods? I mean, there are a lot of boxwoods, so I'm just curious as to how you came to that selection.
I mean, unfortunately, our landscape architect could not make it today, and he was the one that selected the plants. I am just an engineer.
Who is that?
It's not
It's
Big
Bono,
Bono
yeah.
Architects.
Okay, all right, well, that's unfortunate.
Because
that's our
plant
purview.
selection is very important to this committee.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're here, partially. Okay, so
Boxwoods.
147 green velvet boxwoods.
a lot of boxwood.
I share a similar concern just because from a maintenance perspective, if we get a winter like we just had, those boxwoods are not gonna look good having used that variety.
And this is a major focal.
This is a commercial, it's nothing against boxwoods. I use them all the time for residential applications, but commercial application like this, I don't know.
And it's such
I might
matter.
bring that number down and maybe replace it with something tougher.
And boxwood blight is on the rise, so if
Mhm.
you plant one that has it, and we're planting them in such a
Right.
tight configuration, it'll spread from one to the next, and you'll be replacing all of those boxwood, like, there are so many issues with boxwoods, but the blight is kind of this.
Especially along the road and that's tough.
And then my only other feedback for selection, so we're creating all of this public space and a lot of the trees. So we have arborvitae, sparkling spray crabapple, and Coosa dogwood, and none of those are like shade trees per se. So when we create these places for people to sit and there isn't shade kind of around these, like benches or picnic tables. I think in the middle of summer, we probably won't get too many people sitting out there when it's like 90+ degrees and they're just getting baked. So, I think incorporating just a few shade trees around those kind of congregate, like, those places where people want to sit and eat, I think it'd be a nice addition, and changing it up and adding some more variety. Planting schedule.
What's your construction timeframe? When are you going, hope to break ground?
As soon as possible.
Would it be possible to like table this so we could talk with your landscape and architect and just really kind of confirm the plant material chosen? I think it's I love the idea of community space.
What I'd recommend is have the architect speak directly to Max.
Fine.
Cause waiting a month, I mean, their time frame is that they want to be breaking ground sooner, and if we wait a month, and that's, it becomes a harder thing.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be opposed to continuing the discussion on species type, so long as it didn't prohibit construction starting. Because so the Citizens is going here is obviously the Citizens that's right down the hill, and their lease is up
I mean, to that.
very soon.
To that point,
So they're
the
itching to get going.
landscaping is the last thing you do.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you're not gonna be doing it in the next 2 months. So there is some time to review it.
Mhm.
But I think to jumpstart it, starting, with Max and then coming back with your landscape architect to have a more detailed discussion in the next meeting would be
So would we make
probably the best thing.
that would be a motion pending approval or discussion with Max of alternative species and a review with the landscape architect? So we would approve it
Mhm.
so that we're not holding up
Yeah.
tradition.
That's right.
Construction could start.
Yeah, won't hold-
Correct.
Kind of
Right.
our critical path at the
And
moment.
we appreciate
And
the community.
I think our next step was to schedule a pre-construction meeting for tree protection and things like
Yeah,
that.
that was something that was
so,
already, yes. Yep.
I think they're looking to get going
Mhm.
in the next 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
comfortable.
unfortunate we couldn't have the landscape architect here to answer the questions. That is really under our purview. I mean, we have a lot of questions, but we're really here for trees and greenery, so. Okay, so we have a motion
Motion.
for conditional approval.
I'll move to do, conditional approval with the landscape architect reviewing with Max to report back to the committee at the next meeting.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Deb, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, fir tree planting species list.
Yeah.
That was fun. For all of them.
Yes. Yeah, moving on to the preferred species list. So any comments or questions on the preferred species list? I printed a copy of that.
That was pretty timely with what we just talked.
I know, we should have
So
probably stuck around, I think.
So Max, how do you, no, okay, I just want to know how you get it to the people.
What's that?
Once this is decided upon, then is this part of the packet of development?
It's something that could live on the city website. Generally, we have our planting specifications on there as well. And then just kind of together with that, we could throw the preferred species list. And that way, all of these contractors have that available, or I can direct them to it. And I can also send it to them directly, so they just have access to it in multiple ways.
Right, it certainly would send a message.
Yeah, yeah. I know
Not
other
causing any
municipalities just have it on their municipal websites, so that could very well be, that'll be take as well. A lot of this is based on what I've seen work pretty well, and that will stand up to most soil conditions and locations across the city. So not too much in the way of quote native species here, but it's things that are regularly available at most nurseries. And again, things that are kind of tried and true for us. So
So have we used the, is it Osage Orange?
yeah, we have. Yep. And they do really good here. We obviously try and select the fruitless variety. I don't know, are we all familiar with Osage Orange? I was out, sounds like you're familiar, Dennis, you're chuckling over there. I did a project out in Missouri, and Osage Orange is a native species out there, but the fruit is like, it's like a ball. It's like a
Yes.
huge ball that looks like a green brain, really dense. So if we plant those out, I mean, people lose their minds over 1/4-inch crab apples. So if we had a 5-inch, 6-inch diameter piece of fruit.
The big chopping those.
Cause I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, it'd be great.
Yeah, that would be- So yeah, mixed bag on who would appreciate the Osage Orange, but they do really good. They're fantastic urban trees, tolerate a wide variety of sites. Obviously they have their preferences, but wherever we've thrown them, they do really well.
Industrial sites is what I read.
Yeah, very,
Good for them.
very tough.
God, do we see lilacs?
And they certainly kind of fill that weird medium-sized tree void, because they're not super tall, they're not super big, but nor are they really small either. I think I've seen around like 35 to 40 foot maturing both height and spread, so pretty good little tree.
Okay,
Okay, so there's a couple lilacs in there.
Yeah, the Syringa reticulata, yep.
Okay.
That's like, can we put the layman terms next?
Yeah,
to it?
I can
That's
do
not
that.
a common that's not a lilac shrub. Lilac
Tree.
Correct, yeah, that's a tree lilac.
Yeah,
Yep.
I like
Okay.
those ones.
And the conifers,
They didn't put any on there.
why not?
There is, we can.
Okay, thank
absolutely
you, I'm
can.
gonna
We
keep
absolutely
on it,
can.
I just,
I did put some in the preferred wetlands
yes,
species list,
yeah.
but I can certainly include those. I mean, and those are just, I think the lens that I was using here was for street trees. However, I think a great example would be this Woodbury project where there is room for, say, like a pine or a spruce. So I should add those. Thank you. That's a
I
great.
would appreciate that,
Yeah.
if it keeps dropping off or we keep second thinking it, that it will just not rise to the top.
So I looked at that Woodbury thing and my mind went to the Miyazaki
Oh,
clusters in a couple spots.
that'd be intense.
I mean, it just seems like it would give be better screening, it would feel more protected.
But when we talk about in new business, yeah.
Any
Okay.
feedback on the preferred species list?
No, I agree with her.
Okay.
Evergreens when appropriate.
Inappropriate.
Yeah, it's a long time. What did you plant over here? A little,
This one right here in the parking lot?
no, the spruce in the park.
You want to put lights on?
That's a little one.
Oh, underneath the other dead spruce. Ah, God,
Other dead one.
is it Picea glauca? I don't remember. That was last planting season and I'm so,
It looks good.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Get a Siberian spruce.
especially at this time of year, there's total appreciation with all this, the winter we've had, just to have some green around is so reassuring to look ahead. And activating our winter landscape is super important.
Yeah,
Well said.
absolutely. I'll add some evergreens and conifers to the list. Definitely.
So as a longtime member of this committee, I just want to say how impressive I think this list is
Cool, thank you.
Yeah,
and how far we've come
Mhm.
in the time that I've been on the committee.
Cool,
Mhm.
thank you, Dan.
Here, here.
It's something that's been asked of if working with developers and landscape contractors like that, they always ask, do you have this list? Do you have this list? And that if that's any indication, hey, we should probably do this list. I don't know what else would be, so. Yeah, and obviously it's not a set in stone thing because as we know, like foreign diseases and pests can come and start hitting certain trees and hey, we just pull it off the list and put something else on that's a good substitute. So
yeah.
obviously preferred species lists are supposed to be an evolving thing, but at least starting from somewhere and then going, and making those adjustments will, I don't know, help me at least having those conversations with contractors. So.
Well
Yeah,
done.
it's great.
That's
Thank you.
very well
Yeah,
done.
thank you.
So I
Yeah.
move to accept this draft list with the addition of the conifers and post it on the city's Tree and Greenery website.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Strong eye.
Yes.
Oh,
Hey, Arbor Day update.
Yeah.
Yay.
So I'm really happy about this because I think it was something I was talking about last year that just for whatever reason kind of didn't materialize. But on April 24th, which is Arbor Day at 1:30 at the Lister Academy location over at the community campus, we're gonna plant, the plan right now is just 2 sugar maple near their entrance. So if we're familiar with community campus, you kind of go around the back of the building and you eventually get to sort of the rear parking lots. Their entrance to their school, it's not the main entrance to the building up front, it's around back. We removed an ash tree there like 2 years ago, I think.
Yes, right.
In that location, we're gonna throw 2, I think they're called Green Mountain. That's what I'm hoping to get, Green Mountain Sugar Maple. Believe they're an improved native, so yeah, I think it just works on multiple levels because they have their maple syruping facility there, so kind of connecting multiple dots with their students. And then just the opportunities into the future, so we'll plant with them on that day, so it's from 1:30 to 3. And they'll kind of give us a quick little overview of their syruping facility, talk to us about the process. And then from there, we'll break off into 2 smaller groups. So myself and another DPW worker, and then 2 other DPW workers will both kind of split the room of students, take some to this tree, take some to the other, and then kind of guide them through planting process.
Love it.
And what's cool is that, we'll show them, we'll give them some watering bags and be like, hey, like water this tree 2 times a week when it's really hot out, whatever. And we'll probably take care of that over the summer. Obviously, there's no school. But
How long will it take for those trees to be able to be tapped?
it's pretty good. I mean, sugar maples are, I believe these are some pretty fast growing trees. I don't think so fast that by
Those
this time.
kids will be tapping.
Yeah,
No, we
it'll
need
take a
a
while to be
lot.
tapped, I think.
Kids at the
but-
Seacoast Community School will be tapping those trees.
Yeah.
Kids, bring them over.
In several years, for sure. In future visits, because we take care of our trees for 2 years, so they'll see us out there watering, we're applying compost tea, doing all these things to, help the trees along. But then beyond that, after the 2-3 years, we'll be by to structurally prune them. So that's another sort of point when we can engage that the student body and be like, hey, like maybe we can plan to prune this tree when your students are available, and we can show them and talk to them about like pruning principles and just kind of showing this whole side of like tree care, that they see the end result where they make the maple syrup and stuff, but this is what goes into like taking care of a tree in an urban setting.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
so it's a cool, I think it has a long tail. It's not just we go and plant, it's years down the line, all these different opportunities to engage with the students, so.
Can we, should we include this in the city newsletter? Is this something we
Yeah.
want to invite the public to attend?
Yeah, I figured, some of us will be there. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be totally appropriate. I think there was a really good crowd at Peter's tree planting last year.
It's wonderful in the neighborhood.
So yeah, I think, and I was talking to the faculty and it's like, yeah, we have you know, it's Arbor Day and many
Yes.
people are in the city care about it, so
Right,
there could be people from our committee or just residents showing up, so.
okay.
No problem.
Because we
Yeah.
publicize it to some degree and
Okay.
they know that, so.
So do we go through Stephanie to put something?
Yeah,
together?
I connected with her late last night, but I should be able to, yeah, just get that information to her and she'll
Be great.
put it out in whatever way she sees fit.
Yeah, it's a great effort. Might as well publicize it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think so, yeah,
Everyone
Very
can learn
positive.
from it, you know?
yeah, definitely.
Great, thank you. Okay, new business. Any new business, Steph?
Well, I have a couple things, but the first thing I want to talk about is do we allow porta potties in our medians? When people are under construction, what I'm where I'm saying is that, so that catalpa that we said
yeah.
that we could not take down, you know, this
Yeah.
large catalpa that Michael said was one of the largest ones in the city, and they wanted to take it down, so it would have been a convenience.
Yeah, I'm broad in spring.
Right. Well, I've been going by there and they're, you know, doing some construction and I know that the snow is horrendous. But right beside that tree, not only is it getting impacted by the construction, but they have a porta potty sitting right next to it. And it's on our space, in the city space. So I just wondered what are the rules about that? Should they need to move that porta potty? Because it just impacts the tree even more
Depends on
so.
what was, I mean, if they're on city right of way, they need to get a license or
Like an encumbrance.
An encumbrance, depending on how long it is. Typically.
It's been there for a while.
Yeah,
I,
I guess I don't share your anxiety relative to a porta potty being located next to a tree. You know, it's part of construction process. People can't go in and use other, you know, the residences' toilets. They're required to do that. Obviously, if it's impacting a sidewalk or if it's impacting, you know, if it is damaging the tree, we'll take a look at it.
Okay. I appreciate that.
That'd be concerned. To me, it's incidental to the work, and I don't get overly wound up on it.
Right, I just wondered.
Dumpster, you know,
Oh,
that's a
absolutely.
different
I just
story.
wondered, since we have this relationship with this tree and
yeah.
it was asked upon us to put that on top of it, just seemed to be a little insulting. But maybe they could move it to, I know when we've had done construction, we always try to put it in a place away from the street because people use it at night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what happens in your porta potty.
Sure.
That's your private one. So anyway, I just wanted to bring it up and just wondered about that as the snow is receding.
yeah, I think the challenge with projects like this, and I've come across it several times,
You have, okay.
residents will say, hey, what do I do for tree protection? And I'll line it out and they'll do it for 2 weeks. And then I'll come back and check up on it and their site supervisor or whoever's in charge of construction has moved everything all around.
I know, it's very fluid.
It's really tough. And I think in this site in particular, like where my reasoning was like, well, they can't put it in the driveway because that's an active construction site. If they put it around the corner on Broad, that's probably not gonna work. Yeah, it's a tough, I saw that too and it got frustrated and then I've kind of realized, all right, where else are they gonna put it? And then yeah, I don't know, it's a tough.
I'm just glad
it's a tough-
everybody's aware of it.
Definitely.
That's what, I
Yeah.
just I went by and it just, because I love that catalpa tree.
Yeah,
And I just thought that was an insult to the tree and I do understand that snow, it's been hard. And I've had construction at my house. I totally understand this, but.
my intent was to follow up after the fact and just do some composting, just doing some soil injection around where it's all been compacted. Obviously, we won't be able to do that in their driveway space.
Right.
But in that green strip, kind of up toward Broad Street, I
Mhm.
think that would be where I would start. And that's, I believe, where the porta potty is.
Well, and then, so moving on to the next point is I've met with Allison Melcher a couple times about starting the tree walk. It's kind of hard to get around town. And that tree is on that walk
Correct.
because it's a great specimen of catalpa. So again, another reason to really pay attention to that space as we work from the South Cemetery to the North Cemetery and figure out. And if anybody in the committee has a particular tree that you really like highlighted, just send it to me. So it'll be around, so
Take that widow maker
working on it.
branch off that tree.
The catalpa? You did mention that. Now I'm recalling it. We have not, but I can send them over to pull that out.
Wait, wait, till it leaves and you'll know which one.
I'll get them over there.
And then the last thing, oh, go ahead.
Are all areas in Portsmouth up for grabs, or it's really just that route?
Well, as we have had a couple meetings, we were trying to figure that out. So at first, I think there'll be phases, there could be phases. So the first phase would be, our initial thought was to connect the South Cemetery to the North Cemetery, because we've already identified those. But it could go to the left or right, or we thought we'd just take a bunch of trees and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, what the path is, and to have it in somebody's neighborhood, that's great. I think there's some pride in that. So just throw it on. Somebody was talking about out in Dennett Street, they have some pretty cool, oh, you did. Oh, Frank Jones, you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which is
yeah.
very unfamiliar
definitely.
to me.
Yeah.
Very big, full of beech trees.
So it could just be ongoing, you know, and my garden club is behind supporting the ID.
Okay,
And then the last thing was I got a call, Megan Rice reached out to me, who is a teacher at the middle school. And they're moving forward. She had gotten secured her grant, because she's really good at that. And about the Miyake forest project that will happen behind the middle school. I was unable to go to the meeting yesterday. And so she and I will connect in the next week or so and sort of see what is going on as
Yeah.
part of the planning session. And
I was there.
did you go? Oh,
Yeah.
good.
So just as a really quick sort of thing, so she's gonna present this to us in the April meeting.
Oh, good.
She'll just bring the plan, but ultimately, yeah, it's kind of not quite a Miyawaki forest, but it's still a food forest. There's gonna be a variety of things going in, and yeah, there's a lot of interest in doing it. I think she may be reaching out to you, Scott, to see if not to, I recall when we first kind of introduced the topic, there was some interest on that side of the room, so I just told her you might be.
I did say it.
And you did. And I did mention that you did that project over at New Franklin School. That turned out really, really nice. So
Yeah.
she may be looking for some support, but I won't speak to that too much. But she will introduce it in April,
Great.
and we'll have a more clear picture of what that'll be. And I think she's shooting for mid-May to mid-June in terms of planting that and getting that.
super exciting.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Really super exciting.
Yeah, it's great. Any other new business? Nope. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.